guys, it's Amy. Welcome back to Too Blessed. As you can tell from the title of this video, I kind of wanted to discuss sort of a serious, sensitive topic today. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, and every time I would kind of sit down and think that I was going to do it, I would sort of chicken out. I'm not really sure why. But obviously what I want to talk about is thinning hair and hair loss in women, because it is something that I have dealt with most of my life, at least most of my adult life. So I thought that we would just kind of talk about it a little, and I would kind of share my story. And also I wanted to share it at this time because I've mentioned in one of my previous videos that August is Gastroparesis Awareness Month, and gastroparesis is one of the illnesses that I deal with. It's a chronic illness that I deal with and live with every day, and it is a contributing factor to some of my hair problems. It was not the only reason, and I will get into all of that, but I just thought August would be a good time to go ahead and talk about it, because I have talked to other women that have gastroparesis, and they have also dealt with some of the thinning hair and hair loss as a result of malnutrition and different things like that. So if you are interested, if you're new here and you don't really know about gastroparesis, I have several other videos where I talk about it more in depth and explain what it is and how it affects me. So you can check those videos out for sure. I will try to link them if you're interested. But let's go ahead and just get into this topic, because I'm afraid this might be a little bit of a long video. I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can, but we'll just get started. So all of my life I have had very fine hair, and by fine hair I mean the texture of my hair was kind of like, baby fine hair. I remember when I was 13, my parents let me get my hair cut, at a beauty salon for the first time. And at that time I had very long hair. It was pretty close to about my waist, probably a little bit shorter than that, but very close to waist length. And I got it cut about shoulder length, I think, probably a little longer. But one thing that really stood out to me from that experience of having my hair cut for the first time professionally was I remember the lady cutting my hair saying that my hair was very fine, but I had a lot of hair. And I did. At that time, I had a very large amount of hair. And, like I said, it never... at that time, never really was a problem as I was a child, as I was a teenager. Not really any issues. I've always had, I have a very high hairline. So my hairline starts pretty high. So I have a really high forehead. I generally have some type of bangs or something. But there are some pictures out there from when I was younger, like a young teenager, where I just would have my hair pulled back, and the hair itself was not thin, but I definitely had a real high forehead. Very, very high. So the first time that I really became aware of having thinner hair was probably in my early 20s, was when I started to really notice it. And now a big part of my thin hair is it runs in my family. My mom has thin hair. Her mom had thin hair. And apparently I just take after that side of the family when it comes to that. I actually have 4 sisters, and they all pretty much have pretty thick hair. So I'm the lucky one that got that gene. But, so I knew it ran in our family. It wasn't really concerning at that point as far as thinking there was anything wrong or anything like that. It just was something that, I felt like I just had to kind of deal with. So I tried a lot of different things. I tried a lot of different hair products, thickening shampoos, lightweight conditioners, mousse gel, any, special hairspray, anything I saw that said it was supposed to make your hair look thicker, I tried it. I promise you, I tried everything. um, as time went on, it kind of just would seem like each year, probably, it would seem like it got a little thinner and a little thinner. Um, I eventually just started cutting it very, very short, basically like a pixie cut, but it would usually be a little longer on top. And I kept it colored a little lighter so that it try not to have the contrast between the hair and the scalp quite so noticeable. Um, and my hair naturally is just sort of a light brown, kind of blah color. And anytime I colored it a little bit lighter, no matter what color I chose, it always tended to go more of a strawberry blonde, a little bit of a red to it, and then just kind of a blonde. So that was kind of the color that I generally had. Um, it finally, it was just one of those things. I tried a lot of things. I tried taking the biotin. I tried Rogaine for women, and nothing just ever really seemed to make much difference. So eventually it did just kind of keep getting worse and worse. And looking back now, I can see that as it was really getting a lot worse was right around the time I started getting sick. And when I first started getting sick, it was more of just a once in a while kind of thing. It would be like once every 2 weeks, maybe once a month, something like that. But it was right around the time that it really started becoming noticeable that I was sick quite often, was really when my hair loss started getting much more noticeable. And the point that it really kind of reached the pinnacle, and I said I have to do something, was in 2010. I had a sister that got married, and like I said, I have 4 sisters, so all 4 of us sisters were her bridesmaids. And a little while after the wedding, when I saw the pictures from the wedding, um, I'm trying not to get emotional right now, but when I saw those pictures, it was really a little bit shocking, because there was one picture especially where it was taken kind of from my side, and there was a very large area on the side of my head that you could very clearly see my scalp. And like I said, I knew my hair was thin, but that picture was really shocking to me. I really did not know it was that bad until that point. So she had gotten married in October of 2010. I don't think I saw those pictures until a few months later, probably like the beginning of the year 2011, something like that. Because it was somewhere in the spring of 2011. I don't remember exactly when it was. And I kind of thought, I need to figure something out, because it's really difficult to feel good about yourself when you feel like something's kind of wrong with your appearance, if you know what I mean. And it's something that sort of feels out of your control. So, and I had actually toyed with the idea previously, at different times, thinking like, oh, my hair looks so bad, maybe I should get a wig. And I had kind of played around with the idea, and I always thought that I never could wear a wig that was made of like artificial fibers. I don't know what the word is exactly, but basically fake hair. I always thought, oh, if I get a wig like that, somebody will know. People will just look at me and they'll say, she's wearing a wig, and they'll talk about me behind my back and all of that. So I had initially looked into human hair wigs, and if you have ever looked at those, they are incredibly expensive. They can literally run into thousands of dollars. And so I had kind of dismissed that idea, just thinking that I would never be able to do that. So after I saw those pictures, and I I just was sort of devastated, and I just thought, I have to do something, you know, I have to figure something out, basically, was what I was thinking. And so I started doing some research, you know, online, just looking around different things. And I ended up on eBay, and I just searched for women's wigs, and I just kind of looked at what was out there. Um, and there was a lot. There were a lot of options, and of course, you know, there were very, very cheap ones that looked cheap, and then there were very, very expensive ones, and but then there were the ones in between. And I initially was looking for something that would be close to what my hairstyle was at the time. Like I said, pretty short. I didn't want anything that was going to be like drastically different, because then I thought, well, you know, obviously then people are going to know it's a wig, because, you know, if you go from no hair to, like, you know, Rapunzel, somebody's going to figure that out. But I came across this picture of a wig, and as soon as I saw it, I kind of fell in love with it. It was beautiful. It was a little bit longer than shoulder length, and it just had all these beautiful highlights, really pretty coloring. It had like a brown base, but then it had like strawberry blonde and lighter blonde, just all these colors in it. And it was kind of like a layered style, and it just looked so pretty from the picture. And I kept looking through all these pictures, but I kept coming back to that one. And finally, I just thought, you know, I'm going to order it, and I'm just going to see what happens. That first one was probably about, I was trying to remember the price I paid for that first one. It was somewhere in the area of $30. I want to say like $32 or something like that. So it wasn't like the cheapest, but it definitely wasn't the most expensive. I figured that was a good place to start, because I thought, well, if I get it and I really hate it, you know, I'm not out a ton of money anyway. Like, I'm not out hundreds of dollars. So I ordered it. I never told anybody I was ordering it. I never told any of my sisters, my mom, or anything at the time. And I remember the day it came, and I took it out of the package. Of course, it's like all kind of squished and flat and stuff, but I put it on and I played around with it a little bit. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I thought it looked horrible. I thought, this looks so fake. It, you know, it doesn't look like me. I thought, if anyone's going to look at me and just say, that's ridiculous. What are you doing? But I finally sort of worked up my courage to try it out. And I showed it to my mom first, and she said it looked really good. So I was like, okay. You know, sometimes your mom tells you you look good when maybe you don't, but I thought I could believe her. So I went ahead and started wearing it. The first time I wore it, I actually wore it to work. And at that time I worked at Walmart, and part of the week I worked as a cashier, and then part of the week I worked in the accounting office, where, you know, like, we counted the money and made sure everything resolved the way it was supposed to and all of that. And a lot of times when I worked in that office, I was either by myself or just with one other lady. And so I thought I would start out by wearing it one day when I went into the office, because then that way not that many people would see me. And I remember when I walked in, she was already in the office, and I walked in, and she turned around and looked at me, and she just, like, her jaw dropped, and she was like, oh, you look so good. She was so excited. And that kind of made me feel better, you know, that people didn't think it looked ridiculous. So, like I said, I still, at first, it was hard. It really was, to, like, kind of build up my confidence and feel like it took a while before it kind of felt like it was part of me. But then once it did, then it just really didn't bother me after that. So now I don't really have a problem, like, talking to people about it. If somebody compliments me on my hair, which that's one thing that had never happened in my life before, especially, like I said, with having my sisters, and they all had really beautiful hair, and people would come up to them and say, I love your hair, and, you know, things like that. That had never happened to me, but it started happening to me. And it felt funny at first because I was like, this isn't my hair. But then it kind of became easier. And if somebody comes up to me and says, your hair looks really nice, I've gotten to a point where I can just say thank you. In fact, it actually happened. I'm filming this video on a Monday. It just happened on Saturday that we were at a store, and, you know, a total stranger, a lady, come up and said, your hair is really pretty. And it's funny that we do, as women, we get a lot of our confidence from how we look. You know, that's, maybe it shouldn't be, but that's the way it is. And it's another thing that makes me emotional. It was a big deal to me to have somebody tell me that I looked nice, you know? So, but then I've also gotten to a point where, especially with the wigs that had those really pretty highlights and things, sometimes someone would come up to me and say, your hair looks really pretty, and I'd say, thank you. And then sometimes they would say something like, where do you get it done? Well, you know, if that happens, I don't lie, and I'm fine with saying, well, actually, I wear a wig. And most of the time people are surprised. So that makes me feel pretty good too, that, you know, apparently they couldn't tell that it was a wig. So I don't have a problem talking about it, like when I'm face to face with someone. But like I said at the beginning, when I thought about making this video, for some reason, it just made me really nervous to kind of like put that information out there, basically for the world to see. But anyway, and then, you know, I guess it was more that I was maybe a little scared of negative comments. And there have been instances where I could tell that someone sort of thought that I wore a wig, and they were sort of fishing around to maybe try to get that information without just coming out and asking me. And I wouldn't have a problem with someone saying, hey, do you wear a wig? Like, that really wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't offend me or anything like that. But when I can tell that someone is kind of being a little bit deceptive and like fishing around and asking questions and trying to get the information out of me that way, then I tend to not be quite so forthcoming. So I've had that happen a time or two. And then you know, I had one person who would just ask me questions like, what kind of shampoo do you use? What kind of hairspray do you use? And things like that. And I could tell that they had a suspicion and they were trying to find out. And I just answered their questions honestly, but I didn't volunteer the information. So that's how I handle that if somebody brings it up. But, you know, I hadn't had like attention on myself in that way ever since I could remember. You know, maybe when I was a little kid, because I was a cute little kid, you know, I probably had people tell me things like that when I was little. But, you know, like as a teenager or as a young adult, I didn't have people just come up to me and say, you look pretty. You know, I didn't have that, and it felt good. And it still feels good. As a grown married woman, it still feels nice when someone says, wow, you really look nice today. So, the reason that I wanted to sort of connect this with the whole issue of gastroparesis or even other chronic illnesses, you know, I'm specifically focusing on the gastroparesis because August is Gastroparesis Awareness Month. And like I said, I am absolutely convinced that my hair loss got worse when I was sick. You know, especially when I was really, really sick with the gastroparesis, it definitely got much, much worse, because now that my gastroparesis, for the most part, is pretty well controlled, I mean, I still have days where I have nausea. When I woke up this morning, I vomited. It does still happen, but it's not an everyday, all day kind of thing like it was for several years. So, and I know there are other illnesses that can also cause problems with thinning hair and hair loss. In fact, I also have low thyroid, which can cause problems with your hair. Um, there's lots of other things that can cause those problems. So, you definitely need to have your doctor check those things out. In fact, my doctor had run, this has been years ago now, but she had run a bunch of blood work, and she had checked for all kinds of things, including alopecia, different things like that. Because in addition to my thinning hair, I also have, not to give too much information, but I also don't have a lot of hair on other parts of my body, like such as my arms. I don't really, there's a little tiny bit of fuzz, but I really don't have much as far as my arms. Even on my legs, honestly, I probably only shave my legs like once a month or something like that. There's just not that much there. So she had actually suspected that perhaps I had alopecia or something like that. But she did a lot of tests, and we never found any other reason for the hair loss or lack of hair. So, you can check out all those medical things, but sometimes in the end it might just be something that you learn to live with, and that's kind of what I've done, and this helps. This wig that I have on right now, I just got about a week ago. So, like I said, my first one cost about $30, and I think the most expensive one I bought so far was maybe about 40, close to 45. But actually recently I've kind of gone towards some of those cheaper ones that I thought really weren't any good. I bought this one on Amazon for $9.99. So, I just kind of, for fun, had tried one of the darker brown ones. Like I said, my natural coloring is a much lighter brown, but I had tried a darker brown one just sort of for something different, and I still got so many compliments on that, and a lot of people told me that they liked it better than the lighter colors. So I've kind of stuck with the darker for a little while here, and I might end up changing and going back to the lighter. There's no telling. And that's the thing I like about it too, is it's really easy to change, but then if I don't care for that style or the color or whatever, it's not a big commitment, as far as like if you think about cutting your own hair really short or something like that, then you have to wait for it to grow back. I don't have to wait. I can just get a longer one if I want to, or whatever. And honestly, my husband, he's very sweet. He likes longer hair. That is his preference. And he doesn't really love these shorter ones that I've been wearing recently. But especially now that since it's summertime right now, and with my kidney issues, I am hot all the time. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter what the temperature is. I just always feel hot. So I've kind of gone with the shorter ones for the summer here, just for convenience, for comfort, That is one thing. That's one issue that I've noticed, is that in the summer, this is pretty hot. But in the winter, it's really nice. I don't ever have to wear a hat. My head stays warm. So there are pros and cons, of course. So I'm trying to remember if there was anything else I wanted to share. I think I've pretty well covered everything. I have some pictures I'm going to add in at the end of the video, and you'll be able to tell, because the first few pictures are pictures from before, and then the last few pictures are pictures since I started wearing my wigs, and just showing a few of the different styles that I've had. I did not include any pictures of what my hair looks like right now, mostly just because I'm really not comfortable showing that. Like, you know, like I said, I don't mind telling people that I have a wig, but I don't really, like, I'm not going to pull this off my head right now and show you what it looks like. I'm just not going to do that. Since my gastroparesis is a little more well controlled, my hair is thicker. It definitely is thicker than it used to be. But the main area that I have the biggest struggle is right here in front. I already, like I told you, have a real high forehead. You know, my hairline starts back about like here. And this front area right here is super, super thin. You very obviously see the scalp. But in the sides and the back have really filled in. And so my real hair is actually probably a little longer than this wig right here. And what I do is I take the ends in the back and I just twist them up and I clip them with some of those little flat hair clips, and that just holds it in place. And really the nicest thing about all of this, I really feel like this is one of the best decisions I ever made to start wearing a wig, because especially when I'm sick, it's really nice sometimes to, if you have to leave the house and go somewhere, to just kind of be able to put this on, maybe run a comb through it, ready to go. And it kind of makes you feel like you look human again without having to fuss very much. And especially also, in addition to being sick, but also because of my impaired eyesight, sometimes if I were to have to, you know, fix my hair, as far as maybe like curling it or using a flat iron and things like that, it can be challenging. And so this just eliminates a lot of issues, a lot of struggles. You know, I could spend probably an hour trying to style my own hair to try to make it look okay to where I felt confident to go out of the house. And with this, I can go out of the house in like 5 minutes. You know, get dressed, put it on, like I said, maybe comb it, done. So, I think that's everything. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and insert just a little kind of slideshow at the end here that'll just show you a few pictures. There is one picture in there that is from my sister's wedding that I referenced, and you can see all of us sisters with the bride, and it'll be pretty obvious which one is me. You'll be able to tell. I wanted to have the picture I talked about, the one where you could see from the side, and I went to find it, and I'm not sure where I have it. So I didn't include that one just because I couldn't find it. I would have shared that with you, but I'm not sure where it is. So I think this video is long enough for today. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and I just want to say thank you for watching. Our channel has gained a lot of new subscribers recently, and we are so glad that you're here. If you are new here and you're not subscribed yet, we would love to have you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. you.